Well, tensions ran high in various cities over the weekend, everybody. Look at this video. The New York police rushed in to make arrests at a tense pro-Palestinian direct action in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and that was Saturday night. The neighborhood has a large Muslim population. There were protests in cities across the country throughout the whole entire weekend. And joining us now is Lieutenant Steve Rogers. Steve, good to have you with us.
Lieutenant, thank you very much.
You are the perfect person really to discuss these clashes with the police because you were a naval intel officer. You were on the FBI Joint Terror Task Force and you spent a lot of time as a police officer. So are police officers trained and prepared to face angry mobs of terrorist potential rioters?
Well, I can tell you the NYPD is. I can't speak for other agencies around the country. I would hope by now they're prepared. But let me share this with you. The American people have to understand we are now at war. And anyone who is protesting against Israel, yelling death to America, death to Israel, supporting what Hamas did, they, in my view, are part of the propaganda campaign that is being disseminated by the enemy of this country and Israel. And the police departments and law enforcement must take very swift and effective action, which means they have to go in and arrest these people. And then if they don't belong here, they have to actually get them in jail or get them out of the country.
You know, that's interesting you brought that up, Steve, because I was going to ask you what they do exactly. You said arrest them. I mean, I see all of these pro-Hamas demonstrations across the country. What should specifically happen from a law enforcement in a law enforcement area? I mean, you just start arresting people on the streets for, I mean, what would you need to actually arrest someone, bring them in for questioning? What is being done at the police level, local level, but also the CIA and the FBI? They've got to go to these rallies and start saying, hey, you know what? We've got some nefarious characters in this crowd.
Well, yes, what police should be doing, and I know, again, the NYPD does this, you identify who the heads of these organizations are. Look, you've got multiple organizations involved in this. You've got people who are in charge, and these are orchestrated. These aren't just a bunch of people coming out in the street protesting. They're orchestrated to make a point, and that point they're trying to make is that they want to see Israel and the United States defeated. They do get arrested. And you brought up a good point. Those who are in charge of these organizations will no doubt be turned over to the FBI, and then the FBI will detain them. On the other hand, others would be charged with disturbing the peace, violating some sort of ordinances or local laws. Not much they could do with them other than if they change the laws and change the rules of engagement and see to it that these people are arrested on federal charges, which would amount to aiding and abetting the enemy, then that's a whole different story.
Steve, what's the reality? It seems like they were so prepared for this, from not just from the attack standpoint, but I'm talking about for the PR campaign that is taking place right now. They are well embedded in our cities, in our universities, in our schools. We know that there are many terrorists on American soil who seem to be extraordinarily organized. This protest alone that we're showing right now, where they were calling themselves Jews for peace or whatever. I mean, these weren't that. These were anything but that. And so are we prepared? And how long will it be before there is an attempt at an attack, an orchestrated, a well-coordinated attack on American soil?
Well, we've heard even on your broadcast earlier that the war is going to widen, and my concern is it's going to widen right here in the United States. There's no doubt in my mind that because the southern borders have been open for quite a long time, that the enemies of this country are here. The cells have been organized, and they are going to prepare coordinated attacks in this country. How well are we prepared? Well, I could tell you, again, probably a lot of the cities are prepared. But my concern is suburban areas, small towns, small communities. Look at, we're dealing with something that we have never dealt with in this country, and that is combat in our streets. And I'm not saying that to over-exaggerate or to scare people. Fact of the matter is that we've seen what suicide bombers could do. We've seen what they did in Israel, and make no mistake about it, they're preparing for some sort of action here. This is why I believe the United States has urged Israel not to get into Gaza right away, because we're being prepared for a wide war that might strike our homeland. And now's the time we're preparing, at least I hope so.
Steve, less than 30 seconds. I'm just curious, and I guess it depends on the local ordinances, but what about hate crime, so to speak, violations? I mean, if someone's coming to one of those rallies with a death to Jews sign or whatever they're holding up, couldn't they be looked at and prosecuted on that?
Well, they could, but under hate crime laws, you have to actually have a victim. All right. Now, in my view, everyone's a victim when they hear that, but it has to be an individual or an organization that they're targeting. You bring up a good point. They could stretch it and use it, but at this point, to me, they're enemies and they should be arrested for at least aiding and abetting.